Jackson had an absolute, total, and thorough inability to sleep.
I'm here to get justice for Michael Jackson.
Your Honor, I am an innocent man.
He was not an anesthesiologist. He was not board certified in cardiology. Conrad Murray was not board certified in any medical specialty. Michael Jackson's death was a homicide.
Jump to your direct, please, Ms. Micheal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Chase, I'd like to now focus on the data. Wednesday, June 24th, 2009, you were employed by Mr. Michael Jackson as a personal chef for him and his family at that time, correct?
Yes.
Tell me what time you arrived at the Carrollwood residence on Wednesday, June 24th.
I arrived at the home between 8:30 in the morning.
And when you arrived, did you see the children?
Yes, I did.
And what did you do in terms of beginning your work day at Mr. Jackson's residence that day?
When I arrived at the home, I started preparing the meals for the children, their breakfast, their granola, and started getting them ready for their home studies. I then, in turn, started to prepare Mr. Jackson's juices.
Describe that process for me. What would you make for Mr. Jackson when you made his juices?
Well, I made him a juice called an organic beet juice blast, which he loved. And it's a combination of organic beets, celery, green apple, and carrots. Put them in a food processor, juicer, mix it up, strain it, and give it to him to drink. Very delicious and very nutritious.
Would it be a normal daily routine for you that you would prepare a juice, as you described for us, for Mr. Jackson for his breakfast?
Well, he enjoyed natural juices. So I would prepare several different varieties of juices just so he could have on hand at his leisure. But certain times of the day he'd have a beet juice or he'd have a carrot orange, and depending. Like that's some of his favorites.
So you prepared them ahead of time and put them in the refrigerator so they would be available should he desire to have one anytime during the day, whether it's breakfast or noontime?
Yes.
On June 24th, 2009, in the morning, I'm speaking before 12 noon, did you see Conrad Murray in the kitchen area?
Which date again?
Wednesday, June 24th. Wednesday.
Did I see? Yes.
Do you see Dr. Conrad Murray here in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Would you point to where you see him seated and describe what he's wearing?
I see Dr. Conrad Murray. He's wearing a navy pewter blue suit.
Pointing to and identifying Dr. Murray as a defendant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Chase, during the time that you were working in the Jackson residence, would you frequently see Dr. Murray at the residence?
In the morning.
And when you saw Dr. Murray in the mornings, where in the residence would you see him?
He would come into the kitchen.
For what purpose, if you know, did he come into the kitchen on most times in the mornings?
Sometimes to leave after his day, or sometimes to get juices or breakfast for Mr. Jackson.
And when Dr. Murray came into the kitchen to get juice or breakfast for Mr. Jackson, would Conrad Murray then take that to some other location of the house for Mr. Jackson, or would Mr. Jackson come into the kitchen?
He would take it to another location.
Would you characterize Dr. Murray coming into the kitchen to get a juice or food from Mr. Jackson to be a daily routine, fairly typical?
Yes.
On Wednesday, June 24th, you said that you saw Dr. Murray in the kitchen area in the morning, correct?
Yes.
Did you have a conversation with him?
Yes.
What did he say to you, and what did you say to him?
He said, Mr. Jackson will be down shortly. He's getting bathed. He'd like to have lunch with his children.
Did Dr. Murray remain in the kitchen, or did he leave?
He left.
Did he leave the residence, or did he go to some other portion of the
He
house?
went to another portion of the house.
The house is 2 stories, correct?
Yes.
When Dr. Murray left the kitchen area after he advised you that Mr. Jackson would like to shortly come down and have breakfast, or a lunch with his children, did Dr. Murray go back up the stairs or to some other area on the first floor of the residence?
I don't remember.
Is the kitchen situated on the first floor?
Yes, it is.
And the sleeping quarters, Mr. Jackson's bedroom, are on the upstairs, second level, correct?
Yes.
People's number 34, please.
Mark?
Let's take a look at the exhibit People's 34. Does that photograph depict the kitchen area where you worked at the Carrollwood residence?
Yes, it does.
So you indicated to us that Dr. Murray came into the kitchen and advised you that Mr. Jackson would like to have a meal with his children. Did you see from what area Dr. Murray entered the kitchen prior to his making those statements to you?
Yes.
And would you be able to show us on People's number 34 with the pointer that's up in front of you where Dr. Murray entered the kitchen?
Right from the stairwell?
May the record reflect the witnesses indicating the curved stairway in the middle of the photograph.
Thank you.
When Dr. Murray came down those stairs, did he come into the kitchen and have that conversation with you?
Yes, he did.
And you said that it was frequent that Dr. Murray would come into the kitchen and pick up juices for Mr. Jackson, correct?
Yes.
And when he came to retrieve juices from Mr. Jackson, would it be his typical custom to come down these same stairs and into the kitchen, pick up the juices, and then take them back upstairs?
Yes.
After Dr. Murray told you that Mr. Jackson would like to have lunch with his children, at some point after that, did you prepare lunch for Mr. Jackson and his family?
Yes, I did.
Did you have a conversation with Mr. Jackson on Wednesday, June 24th, around lunchtime?
Yes, I saw him.
Describe that for me, please.
Mr. Jackson came into the kitchen and he said hello and asked what time lunch would be ready, and I told him that he looked good. It's good to see him. And he smiled, and he was ready to have lunch with his children.
Would you describe Mr. Jackson's mood when you spoke with him on June 24th about lunch? Did he seem happy?
He was happy because he was having lunch with his children, and he was happy because he likes family quality time.
Did you serve lunch to Mr. Jackson and his children?
Yes, I did.
And where did they eat?
At the dining room table.
And what did you prepare for them?
I made a seared ahi tuna salad and sauce.
Ms. Chase, after Mr. Jackson and his children ate lunch, did you prepare any other type of food for Mr. Jackson for consumption later that day?
I prepared the same salad for Mr. Jackson. He was going to rehearsal, and he wanted to have the same salad to take with him.
And how is it that you were notified that Mr. Jackson would like you to prepare some of the ahi salad for him to take to rehearsal with him? Who told you that?
Staff.
I'm sorry?
The staff.
So you prepared a package of to-go food for him to take with him to rehearsal?
Yes.
And on June 24th, did you prepare any other food for Mr. Jackson to consume later when he returns from rehearsal?
Yes, I prepared dinner for Mr. Jackson, and it consisted of a Tuscan white bean soup is what it was.
Was it your normal practice to prepare food and leave it for Mr. Jackson to eat should he wish after he returned from rehearsal?
If Mr. Jackson was not dining with his children, yes.
Did you also prepare food for anyone else, staff, or perhaps Dr. Conrad Murray?
Yes.
And what did you do with the food that you prepared for Dr. Murray? Did he eat dinner at a normal dinner hour at the residence, or was it prepared and packaged for consumption later?
It was prepared and packaged for consumption later.
Ms. Chase, after you prepared the food to go for Mr. Jackson, did you prepare dinner for the children?
Yes, I did.
And did the children eat their dinner?
Yes.
Shortly after that, or at some point after that, are your duties finished, or were you able to go home?
My duties are finished when the dining room is cleared, the dishes are put in the dishwasher, and everything's clean, and then I can leave.
Do you recall approximately what time you left on Wednesday, June 24th?
Approximately 10 p.m.
Ms. Chase, I'd like to turn now to Thursday, June 25th, 2009. Did you report for work at the Jackson residence on that day?
Yes, I did.
And approximately what time, if you recall?
Between 8:30 a.m.
And did you begin your workday much as you described for us, as you did most every day, and in particular on June 24th, by preparing breakfast for the children?
Yes, I did.
You told us that you had prepared a meal of white bean Tuscan soup the night before. Did you notice whether that soup was still in the refrigerator, or was it consumed or gone?
The soup was still in the refrigerator.
Ms. Chase, describe for me what you did after you completed preparation of the children's breakfast. What was the next thing that your workday involved on June 25th, 2009?
On that day, I started preparing Mr. Jackson's breakfast as normal. I left the property to
Let me stop you for a second.
Sorry.
What did you prepare for Mr. Jackson's breakfast on June 25th?
I prepared his granola with almond milk.
And do you set that out for him, or do you notify someone that it's ready? What do you do with his breakfast, or what did you do with his breakfast of granola and almond milk after you prepared it on June 25th?
Well, if I'm not notified that Mr. Jackson is ready to consume his breakfast at the normal time that he likes to, I wrap his food in plastic wrap, and I put it in the refrigerator so that he can have it when he's ready.
Who would normally have notified you that Mr. Jackson was ready to eat his breakfast?
His children.
So you were describing for us that after you prepared the children's food, you were going to the market?
Yes.
Approximately what time did you leave for the market?
Approximately 9:45.
And approximately what time did you return to the residence after you had completed your marketing?
10:30? Around 10:30.
When you returned to the residence, was everything pretty much as you had left it before?
Meaning?
Was there anything unusual going on at the residence when you returned, or was the scene pretty much the same as it was when you had left about an hour before to go to the market?
Yes. It was a happy home. You know, the children were playing.
It's not responsive. Objection sustained. Partial answer stricken. Disregard.
Thank you. When you returned to the house, what was going on?
When I returned to the home, the children were playing, the music was playing, and everyone was enjoying themselves, and I started getting ready to start preparing lunch.
What time do you normally lunch completed and ready to serve to Mr. Jackson and his children?
Mr. Jackson wanted to have lunch at 12:30, exactly.
Is that the routine that he stuck to? In other words, every day he planned to have lunch at 12:30?
Yes, unless I was notified otherwise.
So as you go about preparing for lunch, do you have in your mind that it will be ready to serve at 12:30 every day unless you're notified otherwise?
Yes.
And on this day, on Thursday, had you been notified that there was any deviation from the 12:30 preparation time?
No.
So when you return from the market at 10:30, is it in your mind that you have to finish or complete preparations for lunch so that it's ready to serve at 12:30?
Yes.
Are you paying attention to the times once you return from the market?
Yes.
Why?
Being a chef and a professional chef, time is a time-sensitive matter. And I needed to get the plates out and the lunch out at, or breakfast at that particular time that is requested.
What were you preparing for lunch that day?
For that day, I was preparing a spinach Cobb salad with organic turkey breast.
When you returned from the market, did you prepare a fresh squeezed juice for Mr. Jackson as you described for us you normally do? Or had you already prepared it?
I had already prepared it.
And you told us that Dr. Murray would typically come downstairs every morning or every day and pick up juice for Mr. Jackson, correct?
Yes.
Approximately what time would you say Dr. Murray would come down and pick up the juice?
Around 10:30 in the morning.
And on this day, you told us that you returned from the market at 10:30, correct?
Yes.
Did Dr. Murray come down to the kitchen and pick up the juice sometime after you returned from the market and prior to the first time you saw him in the kitchen that day?
No.
Did you in fact see Dr. Murray sometime around noon on June 25th, 2009?
Yes.
Describe those circumstances for me, please.
I saw Dr. Murray come down the stairs into the kitchen in a panic, in a frantic.
Can you approximate for me, or can you tell me what time it was that Dr. Murray came down the kitchen stairs as you describe in a panic?
It was between the times of 12:05 and 12:10.
And how is it that you know that Dr. Murray came down those stairs frantic sometime between 12:05 and 12:10?
Because I had my cell phone in my bistro apron front pocket. And I looked at my cell phone to make sure I was on time for the lunch. And that's when I realized that, okay, it's getting closer to 12:30, start preparing, getting everything together, and around that time, that's when the doctor came into the kitchen.
You told us that he came down the stairs and he was frantic. What was it about his demeanor or tone of voice that made you describe him as being frantic?
His energy was very nervous and frantic, and he was shouting.
What did he shout?
Get help, get security, get Prince.
And what did you do in response to Dr. Murray's shouting, get help, get Prince, get security?
I dropped what I was doing, and I ran to go get Prince.
And where was Prince at the time that you ran to get him?
The children were playing in the den, which is an open house layout. So the children were playing in the den. I saw Prince, and I went to go get him.
Thank you.
Ms. Chase, does People's Exhibit 8 permit you to show us generally where the den area would be off the entryway of this photograph?
A little bit, yes.
Can you use the pointer that you have up there to show us the route that you took from the
From the
kitchen?
kitchen to the den.
So you're indicating on the right side of the photograph would be the kitchen area, and on the left side of the photograph would be the den area where you said that Prince and the children were playing, correct?
Yes.
So you went from the kitchen area to the den area to get Prince, correct?
Yes.
And what did you say to Prince when you went into the den area?
I said, hurry. Dr. Murray needs you. There may be something wrong with your father.
And what did Prince do?
Prince and I then ran back into the kitchen. I went back to work, and he approached Dr. Murray.
I'm sorry, the last part again?
He approached Dr. Murray.
Who approached Dr. Murray? Showing you again, people number 34. Does this photograph allow you to show us with the pointer where Dr. Murray was situated when he shouted to you to get Prince, get security?
Yes, right in there. The stairs right there.
May the record reflect the witnesses indicating the banister area of the stairway. Your Honor, would the court turn the lights down, please?
I would ask, please. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Joyce, could you show us again with the pointer, please?
Right there.
May the record reflect the witnesses indicating the midpoint of the stairs parallel or horizontal with the window area. I can count the banisters.
Well, we can just put a little marker, whatever's easy.
It's the seventh banister down.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Sure. May we turn off the lights?
Yes.
May we? Well,
Ms. Chase, I'm handing you the exhibit previously marked as People's 34, and I'm handing you a pen. If you would please place the letters CM in an area where you indicate that Dr. Murray was standing when he came down the stairs and shouted at you to get Prince, get security, get help.
the statement of the testimony, Your Honor, it was get help, get security, get Prince. So sure there's a difference. But it's a different order. Overall.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that Ms. Chase has placed CM on People's 34.
Thank you.
Ms. Chase, please direct your attention again to People's 34. Do you see the initial CM? Are those the initials that you placed reflecting the location where Conrad Murray was standing when he came down the stairs and shouted at you to get help?
Yes.
And that location accurately reflects where he was standing, correct?
Yes.
And at that point, after he yelled for you to get help, you went and got Prince in the den area, and Prince and you returned to the kitchen, correct?
Yes.
Did you see Prince go up those stairs to the second floor area?
No, I did not.
When you returned back to the kitchen, could you still see Dr. Murray in the stairway area, or was he gone?
I went back to work.
So were you able to see whether Dr. Murray was still in that area when you returned to the kitchen, or did you not notice at all?
I did not notice.
Ms. Chase, when the defendant came down the stairs and he asked for you to get help, get security, get Prince, did he ever direct you or request that you call 911?
No.
So you made a decision to get Prince, correct?
Yes.
And why is it that you made that decision of the requests that the defendant made of you?
The decision I made was because Prince was in my eyesight. And at that moment, Dr. Murray was very frantic and very disturbed. The first thing that I thought of was to immediately get some help, and that's the fastest thing I could do.
And in fact, he had shouted at you to get Prince, correct?
Yes.
And did you ever go up the stairs, or did you remain in the kitchen?
I remained in the kitchen.
In the residence, are there security personnel inside the residence, or are they situated outside the residence?
They're situated outside.
Which is closer to you in the kitchen, the area where Prince was located in the den area, or the location where the security guards remain?
Where Prince was.
After Dr. Murray shouted at you, what was the next thing that happened? You said you returned to work. What was the next thing that happened?
After I returned to work, I started working, and then I started seeing staff members, housekeepers, crying.
And where were the housekeepers when you saw them crying?
They were close in between the foyer and the kitchen area.
Showing people's number 8.
It's lower the whole time.
Does the photograph, People's Exhibit number 8, allow you to indicate the area in the foyer area where you saw the housekeepers crying?
Yes.
Is it in this foyer area between these two areas?
Yes.
Your Honor, may we have the lights turned down a bit?
Please.
It's hard to see the photograph with the lights on. Thank you.
Well,
And Ms. Chase, in this photograph, the kitchen area is back here by the windows, correct? The doorway through the kitchen area is back here by these windows. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yes, that is.
Do you see where my pointer is
Yes,
pointing?
yes,
It's there.
Mhm.
And that would be the area that you walked through to go to the den area to get Prince, correct?
Yes.
Now, you said that you saw the housekeepers, they were crying, and they were in this foyer area, correct?
Yes.
And from this vantage point, we're looking from the front door area to the back of the residence, correct?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you do when you saw the housekeepers crying in the foyer area?
I approached them. I asked them why they were crying. They said there may be something wrong with Mr. Jackson. We think Mr. Jackson may be ill. And at that point, I had seen the children in that area. I left my area, came into the foyer, right around in the kitchen area, saw the children there and the housekeepers. The children were crying and screaming. And the next thing we did, we started hugging, and we came together, and we held hands, and we started praying. Neither one of us knew what was going on at the time, but the energy in the house did not feel good. It was not the energy that I've always felt in this home that I worked for in the time that I was with Mr. Jackson and his children. Not at all.
your next question.
When you say you came out of your workstation area, you came from the kitchen area into the foyer area, so it would be the area visible in People's number 8, correct?
Yes.
And the housekeepers were there, and the children at some point joined you and the housekeeper. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you said that the children, Paris, Prince, and Blanket were crying and screaming?
Yes.
And did all of you, including the children, join hands and pray?
Yes, in a circle.
While you were in the foyer area, Miss Chase, did the paramedics arrive?
While I was in the foyer, I had seen...
Did the paramedics arrive while you were in
Yes.
the foyer? Thank you.
What did you see when you were in the foyer area?
I saw paramedics running up the stairs and security skipping stairs, running up the stairs.
Were the children still with you?
Yes.
What did you see next?
At that point, we were still huddled together, and we were still unknowing of what was going on.
Ms. Brazil, do you need the lights off?
No, you can turn them on. Thank you, Your Honor.
May we please, Ms. Watt?
So, Miss Chase, you and the housekeeper were trying to comfort the children?
Yes.
Foyer.
The paramedics and security personnel went upstairs in a very rapid manner, correct? In the foyer area, or did you go to some other area in the residence?
No, I remained
A very
in the
difficult
foyer
day
with
for
the
you
children.
emotionally.
Absolutely.
And then what happened next?
It was a very devastating.
Having vocal
Shortly
difficulties.
after, I was asked to
So you might hear it double because I'm doing that and the television.
Resident, your employment with
leave the premises.
Jackson obviously was over, correct?
Overruled.
Asked you to leave.
Yes.
Security.
And that would be, did everyone leave? The housekeeper as well? All of the personnel left?
In the days
The
after
housekeeper.
Michael Jackson's death, did you meet with Detective Scott Smith
First, and
of
myself.
the
Right.
Los Angeles Police Department to provide a statement
Absolutely.
about what you had seen and heard that day?
Yes.
Ms. Chase, after Mr. Jackson's death, were you contacted by various media outlets asking you questions about what you knew?
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, I was.
Miss Chase,
Were you contacted by people from media sources in the United States as well as internationally?
Yes.
was this
And after
day,
you spoke with the detectives
June
and gave them information that you
25th,
had about
2009,
the residents
a very
you knew
difficult
of,
day
later in the month
for
of
you
July and
emotionally?
August,
Absolutely.
did you give
It
any
was-
interviews to
My heart is
any
still broken.
media sources
It was a very
here in the
devastating
United
day.
States? Yes, it did. And what media interviews did you give in the United States?
And after
There were several. Today's Show,
you left the
Today
residence,
America, Inside Edition, Larry King.
your employment with
Ms. Chase, did any of those organizations that you described, did any of them pay you money for your interviews?
No.
the Jacksons obviously was over, correct?
You also
Overruled.
give interviews to foreign
You can answer yes or no.
outlets
Yes, I
Oh.
did.
during the time of July.
Shortly
September
after,
2009. Yes, I did.
in the days after Michael
What?
Jackson's death, did you meet with Detective
Can I
Scott
what?
Smith
Inside
of
Down
the Los Angeles Police
What about it?
Department to provide a statement
Uh-huh.
about
Yes, I
what
did.
you had seen and heard that day?
Yeah.
That was the focus of that interview was based around cooking.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
based around
right.
the food and the love. that was shown that Mr. Jackson provided for his children?
Ms. Chase,
Before the
after
game?
As the meals that you made, what did you like to eat? That was the focus.
Mr. Jackson's death.
Okay. My question.
Yes, I was. How much?
Okay. My question is when does it need to be done?
Were you contacted by various
Meet with a friend.
media outlets asking you questions about
Someone in France created a documentary
what you knew?
Okay.
life.
Oh, we're...
So
Answer.
my question is when do they take their pictures as a team? Because I want to take that picture too.
What was the focus of that interview?
What time?
The focus was the same. The focus is about the love and the food, or the food and the love.
Were you contacted by people
Okay, but what
from
about
media
the
sources
boys?
in the United States
When
as
did the
well
boys
as
take their
internationally?
pictures?
Yes.
In your time as Christmas chef for his family, correct?
Why you didn't tell me? I would have went
And
up
after
there and
you
took up
spoke
my
with
own picture.
the detectives and gave them information that you had about what happened inside the residence that you knew of, later in the months of July and August, did you give any interviews to any media sources here in the United States?
Yes, I did.
And
The focus was always the same. Overall, the focus was always the same.
what media interviews did you give?
Mr. Jackson.
The
And
focus was always the same as the answer.
In the United States.
Yes.
Disregard the remainder of the answer. Listen carefully to the question.
That's all.
Next question.
thank you. Ms. Chase, is it accurate to say that the focus of each of these foreign entities from around the world who contacted you requesting interviews, the focus was you as a personal chef and your experiences and your knowledge?
When did you next see Prince?
I saw Prince when the children were all gathered together and we were in a circle in the foyer.
Before or after security came in?
After.
Would you estimate that 5 minutes or more elapsed between when you went back to work and security came in?
Yes.
Did you hear a knock on the door for security when they came in?
No, I did not.
Was Rosalind there when you arrived that day?
Yes.
And where was she when you arrived and you were in the kitchen? Where was Rosalind?
In the morning?
Yes.
She was in the den with the children.
Okay. When you went in and got Prince, did Rosalind say anything to you?
No.
Did you say anything to her?
No, I did not.
And when you told Prince to go help Dr. Murray, were you yelling or just talking?
No, I raised my voice. Mm-hmm.
And after you talked to Prince, told him to go where Dr. Murray was, did you ever see Dr. Murray again?
No, I did not.
So you never told Dr. Murray that you were not going to get security?
No.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Flanagan, thank you. Ms. Brazil, redirect.
Nothing, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. May Ms. Chase step down and be excused subject to recall, Ms. Brazil?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Flanagan?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Chase, thank you for your
Thank you.
testimony. Give me a moment, please. Don't discuss this case or facts with any other witnesses until we have finished the trial. You may step down and leave. However, you are to remain on call, and that means you're subject to recall until the end of the trial if necessary.
Thank you.
May I see counsel? Discuss this case
Okay.
with anyone, including other jurors in this matter. Do not form or express any opinions about the case until it is submitted finally to you. Do not visit any scene or location that may have been referenced, mentioned, or involved in the case. Don't perform any experiments or conduct any independent research or investigation on your own or through another person on any topics, subjects, or persons mentioned or involved in the case. Do not come into contact with any television or radio programs, newspaper or magazine articles, books, or the Internet regarding any of these topics, subjects, or persons. That means don't access on your own or through another person any Internet websites, including but not limited to any search engine sites such as Google, Ask, or Bing, or social networking sites, including but not limited to MySpace or Facebook. Or on your own or through another person, access any blogs or messages or texts or tweets about any of these topics, subjects, or persons mentioned or involved in the case. Do not have any contact or communication whatsoever with the defendant, the attorneys, the witnesses, or the spectators. Do not allow anyone to speak to you about any of the topics, subjects, or persons mentioned or involved in the case. Do not allow anyone to approach you, hand you any kind of card, or otherwise ask you to communicate with that person or organization at any time, including after this trial. If you become aware of any of these issues, please immediately report the matters to the court staff or security. And please, of course, follow to the letter all of the rules and admonitions I've delivered to you in writing. Is that acknowledged by the jurors and alternates? All indicating the affirmative. Have a wonderful evening. We will ask that you be back here at 8:45 a.m. tomorrow, and we'll be ready for you just as you've been ready for us every day, traffic notwithstanding. Have a good evening. If you just go to the jury room, we'll be with you in a moment. Good night.